How are you, brethren? This is Brother Fausto. Good evening. I hope that you're able to listen to me. If someone's out there, can you please send me an okay so that you can confirm if you can hear? I'm really having internet issues. I had to switch to mobile data, but it doesn't matter. This is a very important teaching, so if you're able to hear me, please send an okay so that I can confirm that you can effectively hear me. I always do a sound check. Well, alright, so let's begin. So, brethren, this is one more chapter on Ishmael, which for me is very, very important. For me, this teaching edifies me even more and more from time to time. And even though I know a lot, I don't know everything. And with these teachings, I have seen myself being forced to tweak my knowledge, to learn more, and I have corrected some mistakes, understanding mistakes that I used to have, and I have edified myself personally. I really think that I shouldn't stop studying the Bible, because sometimes you have great secrets that are right in front of your noses, and just out of being ignorant, you're missing them. And just remembering a video when I was translating what a rabbi was saying, the problem is that people they don't educate themselves. They want someone else to teach them. And this is exactly why they're being deceived, because they're easily deceived. And this is a raw and cruel take on a truth of the Jews that pretend to be Jews but are not Jews, but are the synagogue of Satan, and how they have taken the whole world between their hands, and they're deceiving us, and they're stealing our identities. And this is the problem. The few agents, the one that understand the truth, we're having opposition, we're facing opposition, and this, in reality, people don't really want you to know the truth, and people don't want to know the truth, and the ones that are high up, they don't want to tell us the truth. They don't want us to know the truth, because if you can't understand history, you are damned into repeating it. And they have also stolen the identity of the people of God. And as the world itself says in Revelations, all those who call themselves the Jews but are not Jews, but they're lying, there is a people that has taken Israel. And I'm going to give this example of how effectively the deceived is. If you go back in your memories and you describe King David to me, or you describe me King Joseph of Egypt, or if you describe Solomon or Abraham, most of the people in the Bible that I can remember of in this moment and ask for you to describe them, you will probably go to the vision that you have, the perception according to what you have seen in a Hollywood movie. As an example, if I tell you to describe David, I am more than sure that you're going to picture him as a young man that has blue eyes, brown hair, blondish hair, that he's white, chele, like we call them in Honduras, when David was not like that. So David's figure, for example, I'm going to show this to you. David's figure, according to the world, is this David. An Edomite. An Edomite. He looks like a Greek or like a Roman. In all the movies on King David, you're gonna see that he is pictured as a white male young figure. And if you go into Google and you look up King David's movie, most likely you're gonna see a movie on this young man that's gonna be white and he's gonna be blonde, and it was not like that. So there is things that are happening here in the world, and it is our fault because we are easily deceived. We are easy to deceive. We're easy to trick. So Hollywood is an accomplice. And if you go and you do the research of where Hollywood comes from, you're going to see that the greatest producers and the greatest entrepreneurs, investors on Hollywood are Jewish. The ones that say that they are Jewish, but they are not. They lie. So, I know that I'm going to sound anti-Semitical, but these people are not Semitical. So I'm not being anti-Semitical. So they are sons of Japhet. So anyway, I would be an anti-Japheti because they're Ashkenazi, they're Hazarians. That is a race that through King Bulam, they adopted the Judaism because they had two options. Either they jumped into Christianism or Islam. Those were the two branches, the two races that were clashing in the Crusades, and they decided that they didn't want to do either of them, and they just adopted what we know today as Judaism, which is really a version that is twisted and tangled of the Torah, which is Moses' teaching. But it is a different teaching, the Talmud. The Babylonical Talmud is the tradition, the oral tradition on Judaism, which really isn't Judaism, but is mysticism, it's different. Because what happened in Babylon was that Jews were prohibited to practice religion, so they would practice it in secret. And most of the books and the rolls that were written, they were destroyed, so they recurred to the oral tradition. And when they left Babylon, well, in reality, it is a little far more complex, but in reality, when they restructured their religion, it had already changed. It had already blended with Babylonical doctrines and with different interpretations, or so to speak, of the law. So that's why Jesus was constantly contending with the scribes. Because in Jeremiah versicle 8 it says that the law was changed with the line pencil of the scribes. So Jesus would have to correct the scribes. One scribe got near to him and he said, who's my brother? And that is a stupid question. That is a dumb question. But Jesus understood why he asked that, and he gave him the Good Samaritan. And people thought that only the descendants of Abraham were brothers. But Jesus said, no, love your enemy. And he brings up the Samaritan. And they were in constant clashing since the decree with Cyrus of reconstructing Jerusalem. So the Samaritans were next to the Madianites and the Ammonites, and with some Arabs doing opposition to Israeli people. So today's topic that I'm trying to move on fast as possible, Ishmael, to the dragons of Arabia, which I already showed you, which are really Edomies, the Arabs, the actually ones that we have today in Saudi Arabia. They're Edomies. It is a blended race. They took possession of the race and they unified the tribes and the ethnicities of the Bedouin and all of those Arab races, Arab nations. They fused them into one and they proclaimed themselves Ishmaelis when they're really not. So this has been through Catholicism and through Quran and through Islam. So this has a purpose, a strong purpose that I'm going to discuss when I make a video on the synagogue of Satan, and I'm going to tell you why they are doing what they're doing, because the only purpose of all of this in Jerusalem, all worldly conflicts evolving around Jerusalem and Israel. And the Occidental conflict with the Orient, which is Islam, those civilizational clashes, they want them to destroy themselves, and the race that predominates would be this, the synagogue of Satan, which say that they're Jewish, but they're not Jewish. It's just a satanical trick of bringing the Jewish imposters that are governing the world today to face God when He comes. So it's as ridiculous as it sounds. That's the Talmudians' plan. So they worship a different God. They don't worship the real God. And when you see in the Wailing Wall, it's not the wall of Solomon's temple. This is all deceit. This is all upside down. So from the dragons of Arabia, which are Edomies, through the Sphinx of Giza, and I'm going to show you a hidden secret right in your noses. So let's begin. I showed you in the previous video that out of Ham or Kam comes Mizraim, and Mizraim is the one that turns into Egypt. And Hagar, Ishmael's mom, which was Egyptian, when they were casted away by Abraham, they lived in the desert, and she got him an Egyptian wife. But look at this. According to tradition, Muslim tradition, Ishmael's mom, Hagar, from her surged Hagarians, and I already told you that it's not clear if he had another husband and had more kids, or if they just simply adopted, the tribes adopted that name, labeling themselves as Hagarians with a clan. They took her identity. The point is that Hagar gave an Egyptian wife to Ishmael. So he had an Egyptian mom and an Egyptian wife. So he was technically Egyptian and he was living in that area. And here comes something that's very interesting. Mizraim is the father or the ancestor, patriarch ancestor in Egypt. And if you see where the word Egypt comes from, it comes from Gyptus. Gyptus in Greek, which is Hekata. Practically a translation is just saying that Egypt means the land of the dark complexions or the dark skins. Or Kemet. Kemet means
negro o
black,
oscuro.
Dark.
Literally,
it means black land.
La gente que tenía
and the people used to have dark skin from Kemet. So these are called Kemis, Kemitical.
Entonces, cuando yo te diga
a Kemitical people. So when I mean a Kemitical people, you must understand that I am referring to the Ethiopians. I'm also referring to Egyptians and partly in Arabs, because it is dark complexion races. I was mentioning the legs, the feet of the last empire in the statue of Nebuchadnezzar that represents the feet, made out of iron and clay, which mean Magog's reign, which is a fuse of the Roman Empire with the tribes, Kemiticals, or the dark complected races. I have a better name. I'm not going to say the dark complected races. I'm going to say the Kemitical people, or Kemitical races. But any term it is, I mean the dark complected races. So I'm showing you that the Egyptians were a dark race, but not the black. So I showed you that if you look Ham or Kam in the Bible, in the dictionary, in the Sondervan's dictionary, it's going to say that it's the father of the dark complected races, but not the Negroes. And I'm going to make a small parenthesis. Why would Hollywood hide the Israelis' identity, the dark identity that they have, Arabs, Israeli, Egyptians? Why would they do that? Because they want it to seem that the white races are predominating and they are the superior race. So in their tradition, they have something filthy and obscene that I have no way of confirming if it's true or if it's a lie. I really think that it's something horrible. That's 75,000 years ago, and it's not me, this is not my word, this is Rabbi Fidestein. I'm going to translate this video.
que hace
He says that
75,000
years
años,
ago,
su
Lucifer,
padre, el padre de
his
esa
father,
raza
the
maligna,
father
que
of
son
that
los
malignant
que
race
que son la
that worship
sinagoga de Satanás,
Saturn
que
and are the
consideran a
synagogue of
Lucifer
Satan,
su
that
Dios,
consider
Satanás,
Lucifer as their
dice
Lord
que
and
hace
Savior.
75,000 años
They say that
Lucifer vino a la
75,000
tierra
years ago,
con esta
he came
raza,
with
le
this
llaman los
race to
sfinx,
earth. They call
o
them
sea,
sfinx.
los esclavos,
The
los
slaves,
siervos.
Shvats, the
Es
servants,
una
and the
mezcla entre
fools. It's
siervos
like a
y
combination between fools,
Y ellos dicen que hace
servants,
75,000 años
slaves.
estos eran
75,000
prácticamente
years ago,
demonios
these were
que él
technically
trajo a la
demons
tierra.
that he
Te
brought
están
to
diciendo
earth. So
literalmente
he
que
is
los
literally
negros de la raza
saying that
negra,
the
negra,
Negroes
pura,
from the
son
black
literalmente
races
no
are
humanos. Por
literally
eso son tratados de
non-human.
negros.
And this is
Ahora,
why
eso para
they
mí
are
es imposible de
looked
creer, no
down.
tiene
And
ninguna
this is
lógica.
impossible
Pero
for
si
me to
para
believe.
ellos
This has
es
no
verdad,
logic at all.
y
But
ellos tienen
for
su
them
Talmud,
it is
y ellos tienen su
correct,
doctrina y su
and this is
libro,
their
¿qué
doctrine,
vas a
and
hacer
this is
al
their
respecto?
Talmud.
Son
What are
ellos
you going
los
to
que
do about it? Because
No importa lo
they
que tú
really
creas.
believe that.
Lo que importa
Regardless
es lo
of
que
what you
ellos
believe,
creen, y por eso
this is what
actúan.
they believe, and this is why they
Por eso
act
hacen
how
lo
they
que
act,
hacen.
and why they
Mira,
do what they do. Look at
te voy a
this.
dar un pequeño
I'm going to give
discurso.
you a speech.
Antes,
Before,
el mundo giraba alrededor
the
de la
world
esclavitud.
used to
Si tú te
evolve
fijas,
around
Egipto
slavery.
fue construido
Egypt
por
was built by slaves. Yeah.
Cada vez que un reino
Every time
vencía a
that a
otro
kingdom
reino,
would
tomaba
conquer the
esclavos.
other kingdom, they would
Sí,
collect
Babilonia
slaves.
tomó a los
Babylon
judíos,
took
a
the
Israel como
Jewish,
esclavos.
they took
Algunas
the
de las tribus
Israelis
huyeron.
as slaves, and
Lo
some
mismo sucedió
fled.
con Siria,
And the same
lo
happened with
mismo
Assyria,
sucedió con
the same
Persa,
thing happened
lo
with
mismo
Persia,
sucedió
the
con
same
Grecia, y lo
thing
mismo
happened
sucedió
with
con
Greece,
Roma. En
and
el
the
tiempo
same
de
happened
Roma
with Rome.
era
And
excesiva
in
la
Roman
cantidad de
times,
esclavos.
there was an
La
excessive
mayoría de
kind
la raza oscura,
of
de
slaves,
los
and most of them
griegos,
had
toda esta
a
gente.
dark complexion.
Entonces,
All of these people.
Lo mismo sucede
So
con el
the same
Islam.
thing happens
Hasta el
with
día de hoy.
Islam. Till today,
Es el mismo
it
sistema de
is the
esclavitud
same
que hacen
slavery
ISIS.
system. What does
Cuando
ISIS
toman
do
un
when
pueblo
they
kurdo
take
o un
a
pueblo
people
en Afganistán o
in
donde sea,
Afghanistan
¿qué
or in
hacen? Toman
Kudu?
esclavos.
What do? They
La
gather
mayoría son
slaves,
mujeres
and
y
most of them are
niñas.
kids and women or girls.
Entonces, ese
And
sistema
so this
diabólico
system,
de
this
esclavitud,
diabolical system
fue
of
engendrado
slavery,
por Satanás.
was
No viene de
brought by Satan.
Y
It does
predomina
not
hasta
come
los
from
últimos
God, and it
siglos,
predominates
por medio
till
de la
last
raza
centuries
edomita,
through the
Edom,
enemy
que Edom tomó todas
races,
las
which
civilizaciones.
Edom, he took all
Pero hoy en día,
civilizations.
en el
But
siglo
today,
XXI,
in
la
21st
esclavitud
century,
no solamente
slavery
está
is
siendo
no
usada
longer
como
being
herramienta
used
de
as a
conquista
tool
por ISIS y
of
los
conquering
islamistas.
by the
Los
Islamis
mohamadistas.
and ISIS.
Está siendo usada
It
por
is being
el Banco
used
Mundial,
by the
Fondo
World
Monetario
Bank,
Internacional y
the
las
International
Hoy
Monetary
en día, la
Funds,
deuda
and nations
es la
today.
nueva
The
esclavitud.
debt is the new
Hay demasiada
slavery.
esclavitud.
There is so
Entonces
much
es el mismo
slavery.
sistema opresivo.
The same
¿Y quiénes que
oppressive
están
system.
arriba?
And who are the ones that are in charge?
Los mandaderos, los
Who are the ones
Los
who are in
dueños de los
charge? The
esclavos.
owners of the slaves.
que desgraciadamente son la misma raza.
Unfortunately, it is
Es
the
la
same
misma
race.
raza,
The same
asiática,
race.
mongola,
Asian, Mongolian,
descendientes de Jafet,
descendants
como
of
te mostré en la
Japhet,
profecía
as I
de
showed
Génesis
you
9,
in the prophecy
cuando
in
le
Genesis
dice
9, when
Noé
they
a su
said,
hijo,
Noah said to
maldito
his
sea
son,
Canaán y sea
"Cursed
siervo
be
de todos
Canaan,
sus
and
hermanos.
he will be servant of all his
Dios
brothers.
engrandezca
God
y
will
engañe a
make
Jafet".
great and defeat."
Porque demostré que la
Jafet.
traducción de engrandezca
And I showed
en
you
hebreo
that
significa
to make great
engañar
means to deceive,
a
to
Jafet,
fool, Japhet,
engañar a Jafet y
fool
habite
and
Jafet
trick,
en las
and
tierras de
he
Shem.
will live in
Y eso
Shem's
es
tents.
exactamente
And
lo
this
que
is
sucede
exactly
el
what
día de hoy.
happens
Shem
today.
incluye
Shem
Arabia,
includes
los
Arabia,
árabes, porque
the
viene de
Arabs,
Aram,
because it comes from Aram,
y te mostré,
and I showed you,
y también los semitas,
and also the
que son
Semites, which are
los hijos de Abraham.
Abraham's sons.
Ellos
The Semitical
usurpan
races, they
el lugar de
usurped
los semitas.
the
Se dicen llamar
Semitical
semitas,
place,
pero
and
no
they
son.
say
Y
that
se
they're
protegen
Semitical, but they
para que
protect
nadie lo
themselves so
descubra
that
de
no
que
one
los que lo
is gonna
descubren
discover
son
that they're lying and
antisemitas.
they're pretending, and if they do, they become
Está habitando
anti-Semitical.
actualmente
So Japhet
Arabia
is
Saudita
currently inhabiting
e Israel.
Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Usurpadores.
Usurpers.
Ahora,
Now,
hablemos de las razas
let's
egipcias.
talk about the
Para ir
Egyptian
desglosando
races so that we unveil this.
Kemet,
Kemet,
egipcios negros. La palabra
black
Kemet
Egyptians. The
significa
word
negros,
Kemet means
pero no son los negros
Negroes,
puros.
but it's not the
Son
pure Negro.
los negros.
This is the Kemitical
Sí,
black.
vamos a hacer
Alright?
una diferencia entre
We're going to make a
negros
difference
y
between Negroes and Kemitical.
Me llama mucho la atención que
And it really calls my attention that in the 900s, 968, I believe,
Gamal Abdel Nasser, el
Gamal
segundo
Abdel
presidente
Nasser,
de Egipto,
second president
esta
in
acusación.
Egypt, made this accusation.
Ustedes nunca
You
podrán vivir
will
en paz
never live here in
porque
peace
salieron
because you
de
left
Israel
here black,
negros, pero regresaron como
came back
blancos.
black, white.
No los
We
aceptamos,
don't accept
no
you.
los respetamos.
We don't respect you.
Entonces, eso es poderoso.
This
Es
is
una acusación
powerful.
del
This is an
presidente de
accusation from the president of Egypt.
Y acuérdate muy bien
And you
que
must remember
Ismael
that Ishmael
se asentó en Egipto. Se
ascended.
casó con una mujer
He
egipcia.
settled down in Egypt. He married an
Entonces, los
Egyptian.
árabes
So the
se
Arabs
dicen ser
say
ismaelitas,
to be
pero los
Ishmaelis,
ismaelitas son
but
solo
the
una
Ishmaelis
nación
are just
árabe.
one Arab
Los árabes
nation.
son muchas
The
naciones,
Arabs are many
son
nations,
muchas tribus.
many tribes,
Y los árabes
and the
son
Arabs
asentados,
are
pero los ismaelitas no lo son. Los
ascendees,
ismaelitas
but
son
the
nomádicos.
Ishmaelis are not. They're
Y ahí el
nomadic.
asunto.
And this
Los
is the
árabes no lo
fact.
son.
Arabs are not.
Entonces se mezcló
So
Ismael
it blended.
con
Ishmael
Edom,
blended with
con
Edom,
Madián,
with Midian,
con Amón,
which Ammon,
con Arabia.
which Arabia.
¿Entiendes? Y se
Do you
fue
understand?
expandiendo
And
en
it began
toda
to
esta región.
expand in all this
Entonces,
region.
en
So
Egipto
in Egypt,
predominó más la
it
raza
predominated
ismaelita, que
the
conocía muy bien la
Ishmaeli
historia
race,
de
which
sus
knew
ancestros.
very well the story of the
presidente les
ancestors.
dice
And this
lo mismo
president is
que la
telling them
mayoría
the
de los
same thing that
ismaelitas
most of the
verdaderos
Ishmaelis,
saben.
real
El
Ishmaelis, knows the secret.
Que los israelitas
That
que
Israelis
actualmente habitan en Israel
That really
no
inhabit
son
today
los
Israel
verdaderos
are not the real
judíos.
Jews.
No son.
They are
Por
not.
eso Jesús los
And this
expone.
is why Jesus exposed
Para
them.
que este presidente
And so for this
haya dicho
president
eso
to say that
2 años antes de morir.
2 years before he died,
Entonces, el misterio de la esfinge.
so the Sphinx mystery,
Encontré un retrato de la
I
esfinge.
found a painting on the
Y el
Sphinx.
retrato muestra que es una esfinge con
It shows that
rasgos negros. Una
it
nariz
looks like it
chata,
has black
ancha y labios
features.
anchos.
Look at its nose, look at
Y en la
its mouth.
descripción de
And in the
esta persona que
description
lo
of
pintó,
this thing, this person
dice,
who drew this, painted this, says,
Vivan Denon hizo
Vivant
un dibujo
Denon
de la
made an
esfinge de
image
Giza
of the
en
Sphinx of Giza around
1748. Y él dice,
1798, and in
aunque
the
sus
image above,
proporciones son colosales,
though its
la
proportions
forma
are
es pura,
colossal, the
graciosa,
outline is
agraciada,
pure and
la
graceful,
expresión
the
es
expression of
humilde,
the head is
tranquila.
mild, gracious, and
el
tranquil.
carácter es africano
The character is African
la
by
boca
the mouth,
y sus
the
labios
lip,
que son gruesos.
which are thick.
Entonces, esta persona,
So this person,
Vivant Denon,
Vivant Denon,
dibujó a la esfinge de
he
Giza
drew the Giza
y dijo que
Sphinx,
tenía
and he
rasgos
said that it had
negros.
features, black
Entonces,
features.
actualmente la
So,
esfinge de Giza
Actually,
tiene
today
la
in
nariz
Giza Sphinx,
que la quitaron.
it has the
Le
nose
dañaron
that
la
was
cara para que no
removed.
pudieras
They damaged his
identificar.
face so that you can't identify this.
¿Entiendes? Y cuando hacen reproducciones
And when they
de las
reproduce
esfinges,
this,
ahora
the
las
sphinxes,
hacen así,
they now do them like
con
this,
rasgos blancos.
with white
Y si
features.
tú miras a las egipcias de
And
las
if you see
películas,
the
las vas
Egyptians
a ver
of the
así,
movies, you're gonna see them
morena,
like this.
clara, con rasgos de
Light
blanca.
brown with some
Vas a
traces
ver
of white.
Cleopatra,
You're gonna see
que fue
Cleopatra. Cleopatra was one of the
la más intensa
intense
película egipcia que jamás ha
Egyptian
habido
movie that
de la historia.
has never been
Para
in
mí
all
es
history.
la más poderosa.
To me, it's one of the most
Cleopatra.
powerful.
Elizabeth Taylor creo que fue la que hizo de Cleopatra.
Cleopatra, I believe
Mírala.
Elizabeth Taylor. Look at the movie.
Esa es la imagen que te quieren
This is
pintar.
the image that they want you
Hollywood.
to buy. Hollywood wants you to
Que ellos
look
son
at this,
judíos,
that they are
que se hacen
Jewish,
llamar judíos, pero
that
no
they
lo son,
pretend to be Jewish, but they're not
Pintan
Jewish.
este
They
retrato. Lo mismo
paint
con
this.
Moisés. Mira los
picture.
10 mandamientos.
Look at the
Charlton
Ten
Heston,
Commandments.
un chele, ojos azules, pelo castaño, rubio, haciendo la de Moisés. ¿Estás entendiendo el plan? Entonces te van endoctrinando desde que eres un niño, porque yo desde que era un niño. Y quizás Cleopatra era más así.
And perhaps Cleopatra was more like that, a little bit more dark, a little bit more chemical. And I believe
Ham,
which is the ancestor of the Egyptians, has a name.
Ham significa
Ham
quemar,
means
o
burnt,
quemar,
or to
o
burn,
también
or
calor.
also heat.
Te lo voy a enseñar.
I'm going to show this to you.
Masculino, ham, que significa.
Male, ham, which means.
Permíteme.
Allow me just 1 second.
Para el significado del nombre Ham, Alfred
For
Jones,
the
del diccionario
meaning-
del Viejo Testamento, dice, significa ser caliente
It says, it means
o calor, negro.
heat.
¿Qué sucede cuando algo
Dark.
se calienta por mucho tiempo?
What happens when you
Se va
heat up
poniendo
something a
tilos
lot?
negro.
It becomes black, charred.
Entonces, el nombre Ham
So
significa
ham
quemado por el sol
means
o
burnt
quemado
by the sun, or
o
burnt,
negro.
or charred, or black.
Quemar.
To burn.
Es así de sencillo, es algo tan
And this is
sencillo.
very
Los nombres,
simple. It is so
la
simple
etimología es
that the
importante. Mira, te lo voy a mostrar
etymology
aquí.
is important.
A mí me gusta
I'll show you
mucho la
here.
historia.
I really like
La
history.
etimología,
I
porque
really
para mí
like
es
etymology because for me it's very important.
Significa calor,
Means heat.
significa caliente,
It means hot.
figura femenina,
Feminine figure.
sujeto que significa calor,
A subject that
típicamente por el
means
sol,
heat.
o sea, quemado.
Typically by the sun, so burnt.
Ham significa
Ham means
quemado.
to be burnt.
¿Estás entendiendo?
Are you
Entonces, los
understanding?
hijos de Noé,
So Noah's
Ham y Shem,
sons, Can
eran
and
de tez
Shem,
oscura.
were dark
Japhet,
complected, and Japhet was not.
De Japhet surgen los
From
chinos,
Japhet
orientales, que
surged
son
the
blancos.
Oriental Chinese,
Los
which are
Ashkenazi,
white, the
los
Ashkenazi,
ancestros de los nazis, la raza ariana, que son blancos, los mongoles, que son
the
blancos,
Mongolians, which are white,
los europeos, que
the
son
Europeans, which are white.
y con eso se
And
fusionó
with
Edom.
this, Edom
Edom se
fused.
fusionó con
He
los
fused with the
y con
Europeans
los
and with the
y con los
Ashkenazi
demás.
and with
Y
the
absorbió
rest
estos
of them.
pueblos.
And he
Y hoy
absorbed
en
these
día los
peoples.
edomitas
And
europeos,
today, the
los
Edomi,
amalecitas,
the
son
ones
los
that
que
come from Europe,
gobiernan
the
el
Amalekites,
mundo,
are the ones that are
pero
governing the
está por
world.
encima de
They
ellos
are
la
above
sinagoga de
them,
Satanás,
the
que
synagogue
es
of Satan,
Magog.
which is
Te lo
Magog.
voy a mostrar.
And now I'm going to show this to
Y
you.
esto es un mapa que yo encontré.
This is a map
Mira
that
qué
I
poderoso.
found. Look at the powerful revelation.
Un momento.
Okay, so just give me one.
Ashkenaz
Ashkenaz
asentó
Ashkenaz
en el norte de
settle themselves
entre el Mar
north to
Negro
Syria,
y el Mar
between the
Mediterráneo.
Dark Sea and the
Lo que
Mediterranean
hoy en
Sea,
día
which
se
today
conoce
is
como
known as
parte de
the
Turquía,
part of Turkey.
Podría decir Rusia, pero no llega hasta Rusia.
And I
Es
could
más,
say
así
Russia, but it
como-
doesn't reach all over to Russia. It is more a little bit
Tendría
like,
que acordarme los
I
nombres
would
de
need
los
to
países.
remember the names of the countries.
Rumaní,
Romania,
por ahí.
somewhere
Ahora,
over there.
observa.
But now observe.
Rumania,
Romania,
Gog,
Gog,
Mar Negro y el Mar
the
Caspio.
Dark Sea, the
En
Caspian
esta
Sea.
región,
This region,
ahí justamente,
right in this region,
Magog,
Magog,
ahí justamente,
right in
estaban
this
los
region
casados.
was where the Hasidians
ahí
were.
era Casaria. De ahí viene el rey Bulán.
And then comes the King
Y él
Bulan.
adoptó, se hicieron prosélitos
They began
judíos,
being
y era una
proselyters
raza blanca.
because they were
Y
a
ellos
white
tomaron
race,
posesión
and
de
they
todo
took
lo que
possession
hoy en día
of
conocido
all
como
what
Israel.
today is known like
Y eso es
Israel.
otro video
And that is another video.
para mostrarte
Whole
cómo desde
different
la
story,
Primera Guerra
very long
Mundial,
story to show you
los
how
que se dicen
since
ser
World
judíos,
War
pero no son,
I,
fraguaron
the
las
ones
dos
that
guerras.
call themselves
La
to be
Primera Guerra
Jewish,
Mundial para
they
hacer caer a los
did plenty of
a
stuff
la
to
raza de
make
los zares, que
the
eran los
Tsars
aliados de Estados Unidos,
and their
y de ahí
race to fall
provocar
down.
la
They were
Segunda
allies
Guerra
with the United
Mundial
States, and they
a través
provoked
de
the
otros
Second
asuntos
World War
para provocar
through other
la
interests
instalación del
to
Estado que hoy
provoke
día se conoce como
the installation of what we go
Ahora,
today for
ojo,
Israel in the
no
state.
significa que Israel no sea Israel.
This
Todo
doesn't
esto
mean that
Dios
Israel is not
lo
Israel.
permitió.
This has
El
been
pueblo de Israel
happening
es lo que
because
Dios
of God, and the
no la
people of
nación.
Israel are what He looks.
Es el
Not
pueblo el que él
It
viene
is the
a traer.
people.
¿Entiendes?
not the traditions.
Y él
He's coming
sabe
for
que
the people.
ahorita Satanás está usurpando
And he
el
knows
monte
that
santo.
he is usurping the holy
Así
mount.
que ten mucho cuidado de hablar
So
mal de los
please be
israelitas.
careful.
Porque a pesar de que están siendo secuestrados actualmente por Edom, no importa.
Because even if they're being
El Dios
kidnapped by Edom,
Todopoderoso, Jesús,
God
viene a
Almighty,
poner todo
Jesus,
en su mano.
comes here to put everything in its
Gog
place. So God
es el príncipe
is the
de
prince
Mesec y
of
Tubal,
Mesech and
o sea,
Tubal.
el rey que gobierna
So
sobre
it's
este
the
tribu.
king that governs over
Magog
this tribe,
es
and Magog is
sinónimo
synonym
el reino
of
que actualmente
the kingdom that
gobierna el
today
mundo,
is
el
being
reino de
governing the
Magog.
world.
¿Por qué?
Magog's
Porque
kingdom.
procede
Why?
lo más
Because
poderoso
it
de
proceeds
los
from the
reyes de
power,
Magog,
the most powerful of
que
Magog's
son de la
kings,
sinagoga
which
de
are
Satanás,
from the synagogue
que
of
habitaban
Satan,
en
which
Ashkenaz,
inhabited Ashkenaz,
Haskasaria,
Haskasadia,
y estos casaros
and the
son los que
Khazars
actualmente
were
se
the ones
conocen
who were today
judíos,
known
pero
like
no lo son.
Jews,
Entre ellos
but they
los
are not
Rosenthal
Jews.
en Honduras,
Amongst them,
que se dicen ser
Rosenthal
judíos,
here in Honduras, which they say that they're Jewish, but they're not.
y son varios linajes.
And there's
Los
many
Rosenthal son
lineages.
uno de ellos.
Rosenthal are
Bueno,
one of them.
y siguiendo para
So,
adelante,
moving forward,
vamos a mostrarte
I'm going to show you
lo que sucedió.
what happened.
Según los historiadores,
According to the historians,
dicen que fue Napoleón
they say that
Bonaparte y sus
Napoleon
soldados quienes destruyeron
and
la-
his soldiers,
la
they
pirámide,
destroyed
la esfinge de
the
Egipto para
Sphinx, the
ocultar que
Egyptian
tenía una
Sphinx,
nariz.
because they wanted to hide that
Pero
he had
también hay
a
un
nose of
historiador
a
que
black
dice que
person,
fue
but there's also an
al-Magrisi,
historian that says that it was al-Magrisi,
que un musulmán sufi
and a Muslim
Muhammad
Sufi
Saim
named
Aldar,
Muhammad
en el
Sahim
año
Andad
1978,
in
que
1378
destruyó la
destroyed
esfinge.
the Sphinx.
Y eso tiene sentido porque
And that makes sense because
si Edom se tomó
if Edom
Arabia
took
y
Arabia
no quiere que la
and
gente
he
sepa
didn't want people to know
que la verdadera
that the
ascendencia
real
de Ismael
ascendance
es
Ishmael has
oscura,
is
quemítica
dark,
y no
chemical,
blanca,
and not white.
esta es una buena oportunidad
This
para
is
ocultar.
a very good opportunity to hide
Entonces,
that.
sea cual
So,
sea la razón
whatever the reason
quieren
is,
ocultar
they want to
de
hide
que la esfinge
that the
tenía
Sphinx
rasgos,
had black
y
traits.
quieren darle a entender al
And they
mundo
want to make
que los
believe the
negros son de
people
una
that
raza
the
inferior,
black are of an
cuando en
inferior
realidad
race, when in
la raza
reality,
quemítica,
the
la raza
chemical
negra,
races,
era
the black
predominante en
races was
África.
predominant in
Te voy a hacer un
Africa.
estudio muy
And I'm going to
poderoso
make a very powerful study on
Dios lo
this, if God allows me.
Porque tienes que entender
Because you
que
must
Ismael es
understand that
víctima,
Ishmael is a
los etíopes
victim.
son víctimas,
Ethiopians
los
are
egipcios
victims.
son víctimas,
Egyptians are
los árabes
victims.
son víctimas,
Arabs are
todos
victims.
ellos son
All of
víctimas.
them are victims.
Todos ellos
All
han
of
sido
them have
secuestrados
been
por Satanás
kidnapped by Satan
por medio de la sinagoga
through
de
the
Satanás, que
synagogue of
introdujo
Satan
y
that
tomó todos
introduced
ellos
and took all of
cautivos.
these people
Por eso la
captive.
alegoría
And this is
de
why the
Sara y
algorithm
Agar
on
de
Sarah
Pablo,
and
cuando
Hagar,
habla en Gálatas 4,
when
que
Paul was in
el
Galatians
monte
4,
Sinaí,
Mount
que está
Sinai,
actualmente en
that is
Arabia,
today in
es
Saudi Arabia,
representativo
it
de
is
la
representative
Jerusalén
of
actual,
Jerusalem,
que
actual
es
Jerusalem,
esclava,
which is
junto con
slave
sus hijos,
with his
esclavas a la
sons,
sinagoga de
slave
Satanás,
to the synagogue of
esclavas
Satan,
a la mentira,
slave
al
to
engaño
the
y a la
lie and
idolatría
deceit
de la
and the
sinagoga de
idolatry
Satanás en
of the
Babilonia.
synagogue of Satan in
Pero
Babylon.
nosotros,
But
los nacidos del
today,
Espíritu,
us,
somos
the
de la
born in the
Jerusalén
spirit of the
celestial,
Jerusalem,
la cual
the
es
celestial
libre, y
Jerusalem,
nosotros
which is
somos
free,
libres,
we
porque
are
Cristo es
free
el Dios
because
todopoderoso
Christ is the
que
God
nos sacó
Almighty
de la tierra
that
de Egipto,
took us out of
de la
Egypt.
esclavitud
He
nos
sets
libró,
us
y a
free
libertad
of
fuimos
slavery,
llamados,
and we
pero
were
toda
called
la
to
raza
freedom.
humana
That all the
ama
human
ser
race
esclavo,
loves
igual
to
que el pueblo
be
de Israel
enslaved,
cuando
just
salió
as the
de
people
Egipto,
of Israel when they
quería volver a
went
Egipto,
out of Egypt and they
extrañaban
wanted to
los
go back to
tomates,
Egypt because they
los
missed
melones,
the
los
tomatoes,
pescados,
the
las
melons,
cebollas,
the
mientras Dios
onions,
les
and the
estaba
fish,
dando
while
maná.
God was giving them
Ese es el
manna.
problema.
This is the
Nosotros
problem.
queremos
We
esclavo.
want
Por
the
eso el ser
slavery,
humano
and this is
es
why
tonto, él mismo
human
se
being
pone
is
el yugo
stupid.
encima.
They
Y esta
put
sinagoga de Satanás
the
nos
chains
dice,
on their
"¿Quieren?
backs,
¿Quieren?
and this is
Nosotros
what
les
they
vamos a
want.
ayudar.
What do you want?
¿Eh?
What do you want? I'm gonna
Tomen.
help you. Come
Es
here.
suyo.
That's what the synagogue is saying.
Pero me van a tener
This
que
is
pagar
yours,
de
but
vuelta.
you're gonna have to pay
Ese
me
es
back. This
el
is
sistema de
slavery.
Babilonia
This is the
actual.
Babylonical
Es la
system.
esclavitud de la deuda.
Today,
Y
the
todos los
slavery,
países
the
están
debt, and
endeudados.
all
Y por
the
eso le
countries
pertenecen a
are in
Satanás.
debt, and this is why they
Para que
belong
un
to
país
Satan.
salga
For
adelante,
a
tiene que
country to
desligarse del
move on,
Fondo
they
Monetario
must
Internacional, tiene que desligarse
break
del
the
Banco
bonds
Mundial y
with the
salir
bank
solo a
and with
flote como lo está
the
haciendo
worldly
Siria.
funds, and they must
Y
go
por eso
and
le
float
toma al pueblo
like Syria. And this is why they want to take it down on the force, because it's the last country that has not surrendered to the empire of the synagogue of Satan. And this is why when Syria will fall, Israel is going to fall, because there won't be no more. Babylon's reign establishes all in its fully, and then Christ comes and he strips it down. And this is why you must have your eye in Israel and in Syria, in Damascus as much, because when Damascus falls, that is when Syria falls. And then they will go against Israel, Magog and Magog's kingdom, and Gog, the king of Magog, the prince of Meshech and Tubal. Did you see the map? This is getting intense. For me, this is very, very interesting. And look, take a look. How was Egypt? Egypt was black. They had reddish complex, and in Hebrew that is admoni. And when you see Rabbi, when you see the admoni in Samuel 17, I think versicle 42 or something, somewhere in there, it says that when Goliath saw David the first time, he mocked him because he saw that he was cute, he was pretty, he was beautiful, and it says that he saw him ready. He saw him ready. Let's look that up. Let's look that up and let's say what it says.
Samuel. No, sería primera de Samuel.
It would be Samuel first.
Primera de Samuel.
Samuel first.
Creo que es el capítulo 17.
I think that is chapter 17.
Aquí está. David mata a Goliat.
David kills Goliath. So go, get your Bible.
Versículo 47.
Versicle 47.
Aquí está.
Okay,
Mira,
it's here.
42.
42.
Y el filisteo venía andando y acercándose a David y su escudero delante de él. Y cuando el filisteo miró a
And
David,
we read,
detuvo
meanwhile the Philistine, which shield bearer in front of him, kept coming closer to David. He looked at David over and saw that he was a little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him. Are you amazed by the lie? Nothing at all. Do you know what happened also with whom they did this? With Esau. When you see, did you see my video on Esau? They said that Esau was blonde, according to the Reina Valera. When he was ruddy, like dark mahogany. Do you see how the Bible, the Reina Valera, this version, it's also trying to deceive you? This has nothing to do. The word admoni means ruddy, like clay. And this is why the feet are made out of clay and iron. Do you understand? Here is where the deceit is. And this is one of the best versions of the Bible that is not perfect. It has great mistakes, and this is why I use the polyglot, because I go right to the root, to the Hebrew root, and I'm going to show this to you so that you may laugh with me, because this is good. This is good. You're going to see. So let's go. This is impressive, in fact. Movies and everything. This is why people are so confused. They're neophytes. This is something normal. This is something that happens with everyone in the world, so please don't feel bad. The important thing is not to stay in ignorance, but come out of the ignorance. So versicle 42, I'm going to show this to you, so you're going to see that this is live. I'm not lying, I'm not deceiving you. You're not going to say that I'm a charlatan. So it says, the only thing on the polyglot is that it's in English,
en hebreo, en
only in
latín
English. You can't find it in Spanish, it's
y
in
en
Hebrew,
griego,
in Latin,
pero
and
como
in Greek.
el Antiguo Testamento fue
But
escrito
the Old
en
Testament
hebreo,
was
solo
written
lo vas a
in
encontrar en
Hebrew.
hebreo y en
You're going
inglés
to only
y en
find it in
latín.
Hebrew,
Entonces,
English, and
versículo
Latin.
42.
So,
Y cuando el
versicle
filisteo
42.
vio
And when the
a David,
Philistine looked
lo tomó de
at
menos
David,
porque lo vio que era
he
joven,
despised him because he was young
bonito,
and
agradable en la
fair
apariencia y ruddy.
and ruddy.
Esa es la palabra que usan
Ruddy.
para
This is the
describir
word
rubio.
that we use
Y
to
dice
describe that he was
admoní,
blonde.
reddish.
And we see
Red.
adni, reddish, red, ruddy.
1:9 que se dice de Adam,
From Adam,
que sea
Adon,
rojo como la
which
sangre.
means
Eso
red
es
like the
un
blood.
color oscuro.
This is a dark color.
Entonces, según
So,
el relato de
according
Samuel,
to this, Samuel
cuando
first,
Goliat ve a
when
David, lo
Goliath
ve
saw
que
David,
es
he saw that he
rojo
was
oscuro,
red,
como el
dark
barro.
red like
No
clay.
era rubio.
He was not blonde.
¿Viste?
Did you see?
Entonces,
And so,
si David,
if
era
David
rubio,
was blonde,
¿cómo sería Salomón?
how would Solomon be?
Salomón es hijo de
Solomon was son
Betseba.
of Bathsheba.
En español le quitan por completo. Betsabé significa hija
Betsabé
de Seba.
means son of
Seba
Bathsheba.
Era una
Seba was
descendiente de Cam. De
Ham's
Ham,
descendant.
Y Ham
Ham
es
descendant.
caliente o
And
quemado.
he
O
was
sea que
burnt.
todas
So
las razas oscuras
he
que te enseñé
had
que
a
son
dark complexion
Mizraim,
race.
que es
Mizraim,
Egipto, y
that is
también
Egypt. I also showed you
los etíopes.
the Ethiopians.
¿Entiendes? Entonces,
You understand? So
Betsabé
Bethsabe
es en realidad
is
el nombre
in
significa
reality
descendiente o hija
descendant
de
or
Seba.
daughter of Seba.
Ahora, mira lo que
Now,
dice aquí sobre la
look at what
dinastía
it says
Salomón.
here on the Solomonical
dinastía Salomón,
dynasty.
también
Solomonical
conocida como la
dynasty,
casa de Salomón,
also known as
es
Solomon's
el
house,
imperio
was the
etíope.
empire, the Ethiopian
Sus
empire,
miembros
and his members
reclaman descendencia
claimed
de Salomón de
descendants
Israel y de la
from
reina de
Solomon of
Saba.
Israel and Queen from Saba.
Y dice la tradición
And the
de que la
tradition
reina
says
le dio
that the
a
queen
luz a
gave birth
Menelik.
to Menelik.
Menelik viene
Menelik
la
comes
palabra
from the word
rey,
king.
significa Menelik.
King means
O sea, Menelik
Menek.
significa el
Menelik
rey.
means from
O sea,
the
que ellos
king.
dicen que
So
son
they say that
de-
they
descendientes
are
del rey Salomón.
descendants of
Estuve
King
leyendo esta
Solomon, and I was
historia.
reading this story,
Y ellos son
and
ortodoxos
they are
cristianos,
Orthodox
en
Christians
Etiopía.
in
Porque es en
Ethiopia
Etiopía
because
¿no?
this is in Ethiopia.
Hay algo muy
And
interesante
there
que
is
sucedió.
something that is very interesting.
Esta
This
descendencia
descendants
fue
was
erradicada,
eradicated and
literalmente.
exterminated literally,
Solo queda un remanente
and there is only
que
one
en
remnant.
1974
In
fue rescatado de la
1074, it was
de la
rescued
cárcel.
by slavery and
Dice
from
que Sera Jacob
jail.
es el único heredero que
It
queda.
says that Sarah Japot was
Están
the only
supuestamente
heir.
regresando los pocos
They
sobrevivientes de
were
vuelta a
coming
él.
back, the
Porque
few
fueron expulsados.
survivors,
¿Por
because they
quién
were
cree?
casted away. By whom? By whom do you
Por
think?
razas islámicas.
They were casted
puedes
away
leer
by
esta historia.
Islamic races. You can read
¿Por qué
this.
entonces Islam
Why then
quiere
Islam
erradicar de la
wants
faz de
to
la tierra
eradicate
la
and
descendencia
vanquish the
de
descendants,
Salomón?
Solomon's descendants from
Que
the
es la
face of
misma
the earth,
descendencia
which is the same descendants from
que es la
Jesus,
misma raza
which
de
is the
David.
same race, David.
¿Estás entendiendo?
Are
la
you
trama?
understanding the
Satanás quiere
plot?
borrar de la faz de la
Satan wants
tierra
to swoosh
la
from
verdadero
the face of the earth
santo.
the real holy
Y
lineage,
usó la
and
sinagoga de
he
Satanás
used the synagogue of Satan
al Islam.
with the
Por eso el
Islam.
Islam odia
This is why
a
the
los
Islam
verdaderos.
hates the real
Pero no ataca a Israel.
Jews, but it does
No has
not
visto un
attack
tan solo
Israel.
ataque de
You
ISIS
haven't
en
seen
Israel.
one single attack of ISIS in Israel.
Están atacando a los kurdos,
They are
están
attacking
atacando a
Kurd,
los de
they are
Afganistán,
attacking
están atacando a
Afghanistan,
los
they
cópticos,
are attacking
de Egipto.
Coptical from Egypt,
están atacando
they
al
are
linaje
attacking the lineage, the real lineage
a los
from God,
verdaderos Ismael,
the real Ishmael.
tomando la identidad
They are
de Ismael.
taking the identity
Así
of Ishmael.
el perverso y satánico.
This is how perverse and
Por
satanic
eso que
is
tú
what's
entiendas la
going on.
diferencia
And
entre
for
Ismael
that,
y los árabes.
you must understand the difference between
Porque hay
Ishmael and
mucha
the
diferencia,
Arabs, because there
especialmente
is
ahora,
a great
en los
difference,
últimos días,
especially today in the
cuando
last few days. when the Arabs have been taken by the Edomites, and the thing that you know today as Saudi Arabia is in reality Edomite. They're Edom. And there's prophecy against Edom. This is going to get very interesting. So I want to give you a full study so that you are very well informed, and you may see these videos and you go back to them and review them. I really need you to wait till tomorrow. If God allows me, and if I still have internet, then I'm going to make the next chapter, and we're going to get fully into this so that I can show you how Ishmael had a direct relationship with Arabia and with Judah's tribes and the Israelis tribes that were scattered all over the world. But I'm not going to get fully into detail because this is very extensive. This is really extensive. It's another series, but it's very exciting for me. It's very intense to see how the tribes were scattered all over the world. And the Lencas and the Mayan and the Aztecs and all the tribes, the indigenous tribes in America, have a common lineage that binds them to Israel, and this is gonna be very exciting for you, so you can see how Jesus in his wisdom, he said that he was gonna join the 12 tribes of Israel from the 4 winds. This is gonna be glorious. So hold on till tomorrow. I really hope that you like this video because I really have enjoyed it. Be blessed in Jesus' name.